Hi folks, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up, love sign please. I love those things, I really love those things. A few of my friends requested me to speak in English so that they could understand what I was speaking about in my last video. So here it goes. Right, this is especially for my friends who do not speak Bengali. Probably you could gather it from a few of my recent posts that a famous Bangladeshi actor by the name Musharraf Karim. Musharraf, he is a famous actor who in a television magazine program said that we have to control our minds before we can think about how women would dress themselves. Yes, we have to dress modestly, but that doesn't mean that we can dump all the problems upon women, how they are dressing up. Because whenever a rape occurs in Bangladesh or women fall victim to harassments in the streets or in the programs where women are groped, it's always women who are in fault, always, because in a last year there was this we bring out processions, New Year celebrations, we call it Novoborsho celebrations in Bangladesh, and women fell victim to groping when they brought out the procession, and we could see Islamists, even vast number of Muslims were questioning how the girls dress themselves up. And that reminded me of the slut walk movement. If you know what slut walk movement is, slut walk movement started in Canada in 2011 in April, where a police officer said that women should not be dressing up like sluts so that they could fall victim to rapes. So in protest to that, thousands of women in Toronto brought out processions saying that it doesn't matter how women dressed up, it has to be the men who have to control their minds, and also the law enforcing agencies were responsible for the safeguards, and that's how civilized nations work, and that's how it should be. We are not living in the dark ages, in savage times, where there's no the society or the government at large is not responsible for the protection of the people. So the government bears responsibility, and the society bears responsibility, so that women can feel safe. Because it doesn't matter how they dress up, they will still fall victim to groping, they will still fall victim to rapes if the mindset is not changed. Because we see women getting raped even when they are wearing burqas, even minor girls get raped. So can you blame dress up for that? And we see that many ultra-Islamic minded men make their children, baby girls, wear burqas top to toe. I was shocked to see at one of the primary schools in London, where I could see all the girls, they're hardly 7, 8, 9 years old. They're all wearing burqas. This is like an insult to women, because women are not food. And even if they're food, even if food are displayed in shopping centers or in restaurants, you don't go and attack those shops, do you? So Musharraf Karim was in fact suggesting that we have to address the issue that we have to control our mindset. This was not to the liking of common Islamists. This was not to the liking of a vast number of Muslims, Bangladeshi Muslims who are living in the Middle East. So they started preaching hatred against him on social media. And he even went on to apologize online, but that didn't stop. He apologized for unwittingly or inadvertently hurting the feelings of common Muslims, because he said that was not his intention. But nevertheless, still, he fell victim or to their witch hunting. Even an old man living in London said that he would throw Musharraf Karim under his wheels if Musharraf Karim ever visited London. And I named him a great Viagra uncle, and you can see, I made a video on that on my YouTube channel a few days ago. So the Muslims, the ultra fanatic Muslims and the Islamists and those who are brainwashed by Saudi Arabia and other neighboring nations, calling Musharraf Karim a Christian Zionist poodle, as we all know. That's what they all come up with. And they started calling him someone who wants our women to be raped, someone who doesn't have respect for women, etc., etc., etc. So death threats started pouring in as well. Even the so-called members of intellect mass, even they said Musharraf Karim went out of line. He should have watched his mouth a bit more carefully, which obviously I don't agree to. And they started calling Musharraf Karim an atheist, because calling someone an atheist, an Gnostic, is a sort of a derogatory term in Islam. So they started calling him an atheist, even if he was. I don't know whether he is, but still, he should still have the right to his opinion. And this was, hardly anything to do with the core Islamic faith. So that's what made hell break loose. They all started hammering Musharraf Karim, as if that the Islamists, the ultra-conservative Muslims, were the vanguards for women's chastity. But whereas we know, in Islam, there is no respect for women. Forget about equal rights. There's no equal rights. There's no dignity in women. In Islam, they cannot even make up their own minds in Islam, because the husbands have to be abided by. The husbands have to be abided by, and the witness of a woman is half that of a man. Women get half of the property from inheritance. Women can be beaten up by husbands if they are not obedient to their husbands, and all sorts. So the respect of women in Islam is it's a myth, total myth. So my issue is rather, are those ultra Islamists really caring? Do they really care about women's welfare? Do they really care for women's dignity and prestige? If they did, how come we never see them criticizing Saudi policies regarding domestic female workers? Because thousands of women go to Saudi Arabia as domestic workers, and they fall victim to rape. And how come the Muslim clerics of Bangladesh never talk against it? Because why? Why don't they talk about it? Because there is a hadith that Muhammad said, if you hate the Arabs, you hate me. So even if they're very careful about even criticizing the Saudis or the Arabs, very careful, because whenever you constructively even criticize Islam with evidence, reference, they will say that you are insulting Islam, you're rebuking Islam, you're calling names, and etc. Because they will not understand the difference between being a critic and name calling. Whereas we fall rather victim to their name calling on a daily basis. Because I will say Muhammad was a rapist, and I will give all kinds of evidences and reference to that, and I will ask them to prove me wrong in a debate. Whereas they won't, but rather they will start calling me all sorts of names, like my mother is a whore, I'm a Christian Zionist poodle, and I should be killed, how dare I question Islam, and etc. So they will never speak out against the Arabic culture in any sense, because whatever is part of the Arabic culture, and nowadays they are even wearing the special type of top that we call, an Arabic dress, to be closer to being a more pious Muslim. Not only just wearing a toupee or a cap is not enough. you have to wear like the Arabians do, that special kind of dress up to be closer to Muhammad's liking, because Islam is a Muhammad look alike, think alike, sex alike, eat alike cult. That's how it is. It's a copycat of Muhammad. It's a Muhammad worshipping religion. Islam instructs you to worship Muhammad because, in fact, Allah is Muhammad's alter ego. So whatever is Arabic is part of the Islamic culture. Whatever is Arabian man Muhammad used to do 1400 years ago is part of being a pious Muslim. So they will never criticize anything Arabian, because anything Arabian is part of the faith in a way. So criticizing the Saudis or the Qataris or anyone about their treatment against women or against the female domestic workers is unthinkable. Whereas they're saying that they're criticizing Musharraf Karim simply for the fact that he said we should emphasize on the mindset of men. But my question was, are men safe in Islam? Let's talk about that frankly. Are men safe in Islam? If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up please, because I don't know whether you can hear me properly. I hope you can. So, are men safe? Throughout Islamic history, you will see the sufferings of inanchas. If you know inanchas, who they are, the men who didn't have the sexual capabilities. Surah 24 verse 31. If you read it, Surah 24 verse 31, you will see that Muslim women can do away with hijab and the reasoning for guarding the chastity if they are in front of a man who doesn't have the sexual capabilities. They are inanchas. In Bible you can find inanchas. In Matthew chapter 19 you see there are reference to inanchas, and there were castration of man in many cultures as punishments, as for slaves and during war. Even in Korea, in Chinese history, even in Christian history, we'll see many priests would castrate themselves just to make sure they're devoted to their belief. But those were the pastime. Those were like for the purpose of being more chaste. But in Islam, in Islamic history, you will see that slaves were being castrated solely for the purpose of employing them in their household, so that they didn't feel insecure that the male servant would end up having sexual relationship with their wives or their capts. So this is a sense of insecurity, and this sense of insecurity even crippled Muhammad. And if you read Surah 33, you will see many references where Muhammad suggested his wives and believing women to talk from behind the curtain, not to talk in a way that would be suggestive of something else, because he himself had stolen his son-in-law, his daughter-in-law, and ended up marrying him by a divine revelation, a timely divine revelation. So these inanchas were employed not only in the household or to help women, their wives, but also to gratify their own sexual desires, because many of these inanchas will be dressing up as, in glaring colors, and they will be engaged in sodomy, homosexual acts. And have you ever wondered how come we don't see black men in the Muslim world, whereas Muslims supplied almost 11 million slaves for over 350 years to the Western world? How come we see black people or African people of African origin in America, in Europe, but we don't see African people in that kind of number, nowhere near in the Muslim world, where Muslims were trading in slaves because they were being castrated. Now some of the Muslim scholars would say, you know what, it is against Islam to make changes or deform human body. But hey man, we know, relying on hadiths, you do FMG, FGM, you do female genital mutilation, you do circumcision, a male's penis. How about that then? Give me a thumbs up, give me a love sign, because Muslims are giving me, many of the Muslims are giving me, angry faces. So give me love sign, give me thumbs up, please. I'll appreciate it. So, how about that then? How about that? Because they were all castrated, they couldn't produce any children. So, it is even recognized, that these kind of people were being employed in the household. This enanches, as I said, Surah 24, verse 31. And then you have Gilman, the children, whom Muslims were being enticed that they will get to see little boys, beautiful little boys with beautiful eyes, going around with food. When there were even explanations of whores, the houris, their mates, they will find in heaven. But they were also referring to Gilmans, these boys. Why? Because children were being employed and being castrated throughout Islamic history. If you read Surah 52, Surah 56, you will find the references to Gilmans. The Alauddin Khilji, who ruled India and were successful against the Mongols, had over 50,000 enanches under his control. Then Ikhtiaruddin Muhammad bin Bakhtiar Khilji, who invaded Bengal, in fact initiated, you can find from the writings of Marco Polo that he in fact opened up doors for enanches to be brought to the quarters of the rulers, Muslim rulers. Throughout Ottoman Empire history, recorded evidence. And it's a common fact that thousands, if not millions of children in Bangladesh are falling victim to rapes being carried out in Islamic schools called madrasas. And I have in fact uploaded many witnesses giving evidences that how they were sexually abused in Islamic schools throughout Bangladesh. And the government dared not talk about it. Why not? Because they are heavily reliant on Islamic political parties, like Bangladesh Nationalist Party is in alliance with the ultra-fanatic Islamic group Jamaat Islami. And Bangladesh Awami League, the ruling political party, is heavily reliant on the support of Hefazat Islam, another fanatic group who wants death sentence for atheists and apostates. So nobody wants to talk about it. So are men safe? Are boys safe in Islam from the insecurity that Islamic scholars suffer from? No. No. Even men are not secure. Forget about women. Even men, boys, do not have security from Islam. Reality check? Go and do a bit of research for yourselves, and I will also add references later on today. Take care, my friends. Good night.